Hello, welcome to Art 13131, and we are starting week 2. I never know till I look at my weekly assignment schedule, exactly where we are each morning. But here we are, and I suggest you print this out. It's found on under syllabus on the left side bar under the canvas under this course. So look on the left side bar and you'll see where it says syllabus. That's where I put the handouts. You just click on that and they're going to be there, and links you can open, and then you can print them out. Um, there'll be other ones coming up. For the upside down drawing here, I'm going to provide that drawing. So don't just draw an upside down guy or something without seeing the image that I'm providing for you to copy. It's going to be posted under syllabus. So it'll say upside down drawing or upside down guy, and you'll see it there. Then open that up, maybe print it out or just open it up and draw that upside down. I'm going to talk about that on Wednesday. Today we're talking about number 4, which is a kitchen item still life. So stuff found in the kitchen in a still life. Anytime we say still life, it's meaning that it's items set up in front of you that you're actually looking at that you're going to be able to draw. You want a single light source to this, just like was shown in the video for shading, the shading apple video, where there was a single light source, and then you shade your item with that light source. So you have lit up areas, uh, core areas that are more of the going into the uh, mid midtones, and then you have the very dark tones at the shadow area underneath where the light isn't hitting. And all this is sort of a gradual transition from one tone to the next. Nothing's really sudden. When you talk about a sudden transition or a sudden change in tone, you're talking about an edge or something that is square and has edges and certain sides to it. Nothing's rounded. When you have a rounded surface, it's a gradual transition from the lighter to the darker tones, and you have the midtones in between. So typically that's going to be like 5 to 7 levels of tone from very light to the very dark, just like was shown in the examples for shading the boxes, where you start very light and then you go progression, showing your progression to the darker tones. Well, that's all represented in anything you are drawing that has a rounded shape to it, like a bottle or a glass or a jar, vase, fruit, balls, anything that is rounded. So faces even. The body, human body has rounded surfaces typically, so nothing's real sharp edges. Okay, so you're looking for that kind of contrast out of your light source. So pick a single light source for this drawing you're going to do for kitchen item still life. That means it's coming from either the left or the right, top or left or right. No light from behind, or no light straight on your subjects, because that's not going to create any shadow areas. You want to take that light and move it to the side somewhere. So you creating a shadow side to your items and a lit up side to your items. And then you can shade in contrast in light and dark shades to show the shape of each item. Without that, it's very hard to shade and show shape to your items, and they're going to look flat. Okay? I'm going to show you some examples of that right here. So let's open these up. And as you can see here, the light is coming from basically the right side because there's cast shadows on the surface that they're sitting on that are on the left. And mostly you have a darker side where the shadow is on the left sides. than the right. And so there's a gradual transition I'm talking about. Very light on this side, and then it starts getting darker and darker and darker, and then you have a darker area over here. This container here has some reflected light on it. So it is changing, but then it gets reflected light back here. But the handle has light and darks on it, where there's a little shadow area here and a very lit up edge right there. And of course, the bottle has reflected light on the glass. So you're going to see that reflected light. You're going to put that in by either erasing out tone that you put in there or leaving it void to begin with. So you could shade this all in and then erase out the highlights, like this reflected light right here and right here. And then there's a darker area back here, and of course you have variations in the top of the bottle, light and dark areas. Okay, that's how you're getting your shape. This has a very light background, which is okay. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, and I'll show you some that are darker, letting the items have the highlights. So when you darken up the background or the surface, all your items that have highlights, that's going to come out. That's going to pop out of your page. This one sort of has a mid-tone background, but typically it's a mid-tone. So this cup has a darker area inside here and lit up on this side. So the light's coming from the left, cast shadows on the right. Cup has a darker edge on the right and a darker edge on the inside on the left because the light is blocked off right there. It's the opposite of the front. If you look at the inside of a container, and you're looking at the light source, if it's coming from the left, the left, yeah, then the left side inside is darker than the right because the light is shining on the right side and the inside and not on the left. Well, on the outside, it's the opposite. The light is shining on the left and not so much on the right. Okay? So look at this and get that together because that's what you're going to want to look at if you have cups or glasses and stuff. This is glass, I imagine, here, and so there's a lot of light and dark in glass. Don't just assume that because glass is clear, it's just clear. There's nothing there. You'll find that there's lots of reflected light. There's image light from behind shining through that's going to be a distorted image, but also has lights and darks in it. Your job is to find where the lights and darks are. If you haven't noticed them before, now's your chance. You have to notice where all the light and dark areas in a drawing. Once, once you do your gesture drawing, like I provided a video for that too, you have a gesture drawing, so in the proportion, like this bottle is taller than this glass and that's taller than the cup and taller than these. We'll map that out and very, very lightly with lines, sketch it out. Also, another thing you want to be aware of is when you're looking down at an angle at anything that's rounded like this cup and these glasses, and they're sitting on the surface of a table and you're not looking at them at eye level, then they have a lisp. This is the oval shape at the bottom and the top. Top, bottom, top, top, bottom. The bottom of the bottle too has a small lisp there. That's an oval shape. It's a curve. Okay, and you can test this by taking a cup and having it at eye level right out in front of you, and then lower it, and you'll see the ellipse start to appear. And then raise it back to eye level and go higher, and you'll see the bottom having a lisp on it. Now, this is all part of a perspective of where you're looking at an item from, okay? And it's showing to your audience that you're looking at this at a little bit of an angle, maybe 45 or whatever the angle is. It's not eye level. You're not sitting at the edge of the table looking straight across the table surface at your items. Then there probably would be no ellipse to see because everything's at eye level. Okay? I'm going to show you an example of lisps, another example in a second, but just keep that in mind and look at your items and you'll notice it. Biggest mistake students make is that maybe they'll draw the top of list, but they figure since all this is at the surface of the table, that that's just straight across right here, and it isn't. My dogs are barking at something, sorry. Anyway, it's not straight across on the surface here because it's just sitting on the surface. There's an lisp there because you're looking at an angle down at it. If the whole front of this cup and these glasses is round, there's a lisp here and there's a lisp at the bottom too because they're rounded. It doesn't suddenly get straight down here. So really, really, really focus and notice that because more than not, a lot of students will send things to me on this assignment, and the bottom is straight across. They didn't draw the list with the bottom, even though I said it in the video. So really listen to me. So we don't have to go through that, and you don't have to go over it and put the lisp at the bottom. There's an lisp at the top and the bottom, top and bottom of all these. All right, I'm going to show you another example. Whoops. And this one's got very light highlights on these and a very kind of a darker background. So the darker background is bringing out all the highlights in these kitchen items. You can put utensils and spoons and stuff in a jar like this, or lay a spoon here and have an apple. Okay, all of them are a little different, right? One had a wine glass and a bottle and, back and forth. You decide. Light's coming from the right. The left side has the shadow, cast shadow on the table. Don't forget your cast shadow, because that's going to place your items down on a surface. If they have no cast shadow and they're just sort of floating. Also, you want to probably give everything a tone. Unless something's white as paper, then everything has a tone, some sort of tone. Even this tabletop has a slight light tone to it. It's not white as paper, probably. And then, of course, this is a variation of tone. It doesn't have to be totally perfect. In fact, when you shade the background with a variation of little light and dark areas in it creates a space, a distance behind. If it's totally perfect, it's flat and there's no space. It's like a wall right there. But if you want to allude to space back here, you don't have to draw every item back there. You can just shade like this. Light and dark little areas. Don't make it scratchy, kind of blend it so it's smooth. The blending of tone is smooth together. It's not scratchy lines. So you want to use your side of your pencil where you're getting that broad surface of graphite. Maybe you want to get a total graphite pencil or use charcoal maybe, which you can smudge around and make it smooth. With graphite, you can use a rag or your fingertip or a rag over your fingertip or a Q-tip or something like that. They make smudging tools too, which are kind of like a very tightly wound paper in a pencil sense. And you can use that to rub and smooth out your shading marks. What you don't want is scratchy marks because that makes texture. You're creating a texture when you're making scratchy marks with your shading. You want smooth shading. So you really want to buff it or smudge it with either a rag over your finger or get a smudging tool or make one and smudge out where you're shading. The spoon has highlights because it has a very shiny surface, a reflective surface. Look for those highlights. There's going to be light and darks all around a silver spoon like this, or something that is metal. Going to be lights and darks all around it. Of course, the apple is light on one side and a little dark on the other, depending on the color of the apple and where the light and dark of the color are too. You have to take that all into context. Cast shadow on the vase or the jar here from light hitting the apple and have a shadow in here. It's not as dark as the surface shadow. Surface shadow is darker. So you have to determine what shadow area, what tone is darker than another, and then put it in. All right? Let me see if this will bring up the next image. No. Okay, let's do this. Now, it doesn't have to be vases and glasses and stuff. You can put utensils down, but overlap them. Don't just set them straight across. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't do that. You want several of them. You don't want one. You want 3 or more. That's the same thing with all of these that I showed. There's 3 or more containers. 3 or more containers. These have 4 and 5 here. I don't know where that last one went. Oh well. So here we have this one. But there's reflective surfaces on here, and you have lights and darks wherever they're reflecting light. Nothing's going to be just void, and this is a little flat area because it seems really bright light there, but the fork over it makes up for that with the cast shadow of the fork behind it. Okay. Here's another image of kitchen items without rounded containers. But you have reflected light and you have cast shadows from everything. The whisk, shadows, all these shadows in here around your items. Then the spoon has a shadow area on one side where the light isn't hitting, a little more light here, and then an edge over here that's a little darker. So look at all that and try to get all the tones you possibly can in there. Know that it's just not going to be flat in tone. It's going to have all kind of tones. Now, the background here is a little scratchy, which is creating kind of a texture, but it's not that quite annoying, but I would try to smooth that out a little bit. I just like the grapes are shaded pretty well, and the reflection on the glass area. Like around here is going to be a little different than the inside. And if you have wine in there, then that's going to be a little darker, but it's going to have reflected areas. So it's not just all the wine is one tone and all the glasses has no tone at all because it's glass. No, you're going to see reflected light through from uh, image tone from stuff that's behind the glass showing through it and reflected light on the glass. So here's some cheese back here in a cork. All this has shading with a light source. I believe the light source is coming from the top right because you have sort of a cast shadow on the grapes in the front left. Okay, so let's see if I have one more. This is a little washed out, but it's still okay because all this on this side, these two in particular, have reflected light shining through. Notice the ellipses. And this is not straight across right here in this cup. The top has an lisp and the bottom has a small lisp here that matches this same edge. So because that's round, it's the same round as it's going down. When it hits the bottom, it has this same rounded curve on all of these. You can't see it on the front of these, but you do see it at the top. The top of the open there's an lisp there. This lisp isn't drawn all that well. It's kind of wonky, but it's still a lisp. You have a dark part going into this container, and then down here, another lisp. Top and bottom of all these having a lisp. So don't leave that bottom lisp out, okay? I'm going to show you one more thing here, I hope, about lisps. You'll see that on here, it's showing all the lisps in different sized containers. It's here in the middle too, because this is rounded and has a little edge there. They're going to show that a lisp. Round here, same thing. All the way down this, a lisp, all the way down to the bottom. The bottom has a lisp too. It's not straight across. Even that little tiny area is not straight across right there. Has a little lisp right there. This has a lisp. It's not straight. That's a straight line right there, just showing the proportion. You don't draw that line, of course. Okay. So let me go back and see if I can find another a Lisp. These are all my images I give for examples of things. Another breakdown I had in here of your Lisps. Oh, this one. So here it's kind of just showing you each little rounded area all the way down, that it is round all the way down to the bottom. So you're going to see in a Lisp all the way through this if it had an edge there. It's just representing how round this is all the way down to the bottom. And the bottom has an Lisp. This one's on its side. If you did that, you're doing the Lisp this way. You can try that if you want. I'm not having you do that necessarily. It's not required. But I do require that you have 3 or more containers. Don't draw just one. If you drawed one only, you didn't listen to all the video, obviously, because I'm saying it here, and I said it earlier. Draw 3 or more containers. 3 or more. Okay? So if you send me one, I'm going to know you didn't watch this video. I'm going to say, hey, it's about 3 and 1. 3 or more containers, and draw them, please, and put, 2 more in there and send it back to me. All right? So you really need to do that initially. You need to shade with the light source. You need to shade one side or the other of your containers with light and shadow areas. And you need to show the Lisp at the bottom and the top. You need to shade your background and your surface. Don't leave those totally white as paper. If there's nothing white as paper you're looking at, don't draw it. Don't leave it white as paper. Okay. Now I've given you all the warnings. Let's go for this. Set up your still life with 3 or more containers. It could be 3 or more containers with some utensils, or if you're just going to draw utensils, 3 or more of those, okay? Overlapped, not straight lined up like a place setting. Overlap them, because then you're going to have shadows and stuff. It's more of it's a better composition than something just lined straight up, okay? And then you have shadows kind of working around each other when you do that. And it's just more interesting, okay? Please do that instead of just lining them straight up and down the page. Okay, like this one straight. Well, don't put another one there and another one there and another there, all straight across. Overlap them. It's a better composition. It's more interesting, okay? So do that. All right, so we'll leave it at that. And remember your Lisps. Go back and look over this if you want. You can always go to Bing Images or Google Images and put anything I'm talking about in here. You can put Lisps, show Lisps on containers, and it'll show you that. Or you can put kitchen items, shaded, drawings, put graphite drawings, so that just, otherwise it's going to show you flat cartoon stuff. Okay, so you want to put kitchen items, still life, graphite drawing. Then it'll show you stuff. We can just look at mine examples here, okay? And Lisps, they'll have examples of Lisps as well. All right, we'll leave it at that, and we'll talk with you on Wednesday. Thank you.